Hello, hello, hello. In this tutorial video, we're going to be talking all about branding and how to make your pages, whether they're your course pages or your website pages or your funnel pages, how to make them match your brand in terms of your colors, your fonts, even adding your logo. So I'm going to show you how to do that over in the Shine Pages platform, because what's really nice is that you're able to kind of set the global styling for all of your site, all of your pages, all of your funnel. But then you can also make tweaks to each individual element on the page. So you do have a lot of flexibility within creating your brand as well. So I'm going to just pop this one larger here. I just chose this template as an example. Okay, so we are now in the Shine Pages Builder. You typically are going to start with a template, and then you're going to want to tweak that template to make it your own, to make it match your brand. And so one of those big things is obviously images and content, of course, but another huge part that really sets the tone for your brand, and again, provides that consistency across the board when people think about you, is those colors and your font and your logo. So we're going to go over how to update those now. So on this, we're in the builder section here of the Shine Pages platform. And along the side hand is your navigation or your menu for the builder itself. The top page is all about adding new pages to your site. The second icon is all about adding new widgets to your site. And these can be things like, text and images and countdown timers and all sorts of different widgets here. But then this third one with the little paintbrush here, this is going to be your global styling. So this is going to help you set that mood for the entire site. The very first thing that I like to do is to either go to my fonts or to my color palette. And so for right now, we're going to start with color palette. You're going to go here, and then here is where you're actually going to be able to choose the different colors that make up that primary background on your site. Some of the templates that you can get started with have a lot of color in them already, and those are set using these color palette global styling colors. And some of them don't have a ton of color to begin with. It's mostly about the imagery and a lot of white space and just some text. So some of them have more color than others. And of course, if you're building one from scratch and starting with a blank template, then you get to decide. So with all of these, you're going to choose one primary color and then 4 secondary colors. For your primary color, you're going to just select here. You can see the palette that was chosen or set with your template that you started with here, but you can always make changes. So if you have the RGB values or the hex color value of your brand palette, and you've gotten that because you created a brand palette, whether that was in Canva or one of the other palette tools that are out there on the internet. Color Lovers is one. There's a bunch of different places that you can go to kind of help you create that palette. And once you do, you typically have your hex value here. And that is something you can just type in and just replace with another number, so your hex value here. As you can see, when I made that change, it immediately changed any of the areas of the template that had been set to use primary color. So immediately that makes a change. You can also, if you have your hex color, you can type it in or paste it in, RGB values here, or you can simply go up and down the color wheel here, just selecting as you go. You can move this around. You can change out the opacity level of your color here. So all of this will make changes to your color palette. So as I'm doing this, you can see it's changing real time. Again, some templates have more color, so you can see this visually better than others, but it will be changing the overall palette of your site when you make these changes here. So let's just call this the primary color for now. We're going to start with that. And then again, with the secondary colors, you're going to make these changes here. So let's just make some crazy changes. And we'll go here, make it purple or really dark, whatever it is I just chose here. So again, you have all sorts of different choices. You can make things more pale, deeper in saturation. So you're going to just make all these different changes here. You can also choose the main background color for your pages. If you don't want it to just be a stark white, you can change that background color here, and then the main text color as well. So you're going to hit confirm. And so now anywhere we go through this particular site, you can see this purple color has changed over here, this green. Obviously this had been using one of those secondary colors for here. So you can just see that different elements of the template had been set to use, you know, primary color, the second one in the list or the fourth one in the list. So again, depending on the template that you choose, you will have the option to see all those changes take place once you change your color palette. Now, as I was saying before, you do have the flexibility to go ahead and make individual tweaks and individual changes. So you are not set to having to use whatever your palette is, you know, whatever you set for your palette in these different areas. If you wanted, for instance, to make this button be a different color, you absolutely can do that. So every element within the page, whether it's a button or a text block or the background of a column in this case. So you can go here to the column. This background color of this column is green. If I click on the column settings, the background color of this column is purple. I can go here and make any changes I want. I don't have to use the color palette that I was given. I can make this, you know, a bright red if I want to. So you can make individual tweaks to different areas of your site that will, these will now take precedent over the global settings. So when you make individual changes on page, those will supersede and kind of overwrite the global styling for that particular section or element. So again, you can make individual tweaks just by going here to your styling. I'm going to change this one to be a purple now. I'm going to make this one now have a border color, and I can then start to make additional changes. I can make my border, and you can do all of these individual tweaks and changes on individual elements. So it's a great idea when you first get started, set your foundation, set your global styling colors, but then know that if you need to make one area a different color to make it stand out, or you don't like how the template has kind of color-coded those different colors into your template, you can absolutely change them. So that's one thing. That's the colors of your site. I'm going to go back here to I'm going to just save changes on this super pretty site. Go back over here to the global styling. The next thing you'd want to do is your fonts. So your font really can make a huge difference in the impact and kind of the tone of your site, what it looks like. Again, not only for that repetition and making sure it's really cohesive across all of your different channels, wherever your brand shows up in printed material, on social media, on your website, etc. They should all match. But also just it really does convey a certain feel, a certain tone, the different types of fonts that you use. There are different tools out there that you can use to kind of identify fonts. If you aren't sure, if you really like a font that somebody's using and you don't know what it is, there's different font identifiers online where you can get a good estimate of what it is those people are using and then use the similar type of font or just get an idea what they're using. One of them is called WhatFont. It's actually a Chrome extension that you can use that will identify fonts on a page. That's super helpful. Back to the colors really quick. There's also an extension for Chrome that I really like. What is it called? ColorZilla. ColorZilla Chrome extension. You can actually use a little eyedropper and collect the color that you see on any website, and then it will tell you actually what the hex value of that color is. So if you go to a site that has beautiful photos and maybe you like the color that's in the background of that sunset, for example, you can take your little color dropper, it will pick up the color from that exact portion of the page, and then it will tell you the hex value. So that's a really great way, if you don't know what your colors are, to go around and see what you like, go to Pinterest, go to other websites, see what colors you like, and then make yourself a little palette there that you can then bring over into your Shine Pages global styling. Okay, so we were going to go into fonts. We just got on a tangent. So again, back to fonts, you can add fonts to your website. Again, I recommend doing this when you first get started, when you first load in your template. If you don't like the fonts that were with your original template, you can absolutely change those. Here is where you would go to add new fonts or delete fonts that came with your template. By adding a font, it will give you an option of seeing all of these different Google fonts. Sometimes it's a little slow when I'm streaming at the same time, but these are just different fonts that are free that you can absolutely use without having to pay for the rights to use this font. These are all different free Google fonts that you would just simply click here. Some of them have different weights, so I can just say I want regular, and it will add in to my site. Now, when I go through and make updates or changes to my pages, I will now have this font as an option. It will be one of the pull-down options that you can use for your fonts. Similarly with custom fonts, you can upload custom fonts. If you've bought a font, like Creative Market is a great place to buy beautiful, unique fonts that people have created, or I believe even on Etsy or other places where you can purchase fonts. You can go here, upload your custom font. You can search for your font wherever you want on your computer. This is where all of your images go. Any font files go, any PDF files go. You can arrange things with folders. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and upload a font. Let's see, I have a bunch of different fonts right here. I have a couple I've purchased. Dahlia, let's just bring that in. Okay, so now I have Dahlia. It's an OTF file. I'm going to select, oops, I have to select this file. Now I'm going to select it, and I'm going to name it Dahlia. And hit add. So now I have Dahlia as an option to choose from on my site. Okay, so I'm going to hit confirm. Once I have those different options, so now you'll see if I add in like a text widget, I just drag over my text widget, and I wanted to choose which font I used for this text widget. I now have Dahlia, and let's see, I have that Josephine Sands. So I can just change the font right here, change the sizing right here, and also change the text color right here as well. So this is where I could choose to make changes right on the page itself for the font. I'm going to just make this, let's see, just so you can see it a little better right here. Okay, so then I'll just drag this down a little bit just so you can see. So now I've made that change to a new piece of text I added to the site. You want to make changes to text that's already on the site, you can do that. But the easiest way to do that is, again, going back to our global styling. Because we've now added our new fonts, we can go up to where it says text styling, and now we'll have those fonts to choose from. So here's where you set the overall, again, just like your colors that you set, this is setting your text for the different types of text styles, all your different heading tags on your site. So you have heading 1, heading 2, all the way through heading 6. You have your paragraph font, and you have your quote font as well. So here's where you're going to set that for the site overall. So again, this one, let's say I now choose that Josephine Sands. I can choose that for here as well. So you can just kind of go down the line. You can make changes to the size, to the letter spacing, to the line height. All of these things can be changed per style. So text style 1, heading 2, heading 3, etc. So you just make these different changes. Let's make this one Dahlia. So again, you would probably make it very similar font all the way down, just maybe changing the size of your font as you go. But for this example, I'm going a little crazy. I'm just making lots of different types of fonts just to show you. And also the text color can be changed. Again, if the template that you chose had these different parts of font attributed to heading 1 or heading 2 or heading 3, etc., when you make this change to the global styling, that will make the change throughout the site. Remember, you can individually change other elements on the page, including your text. So if you don't like what heading 1 looks like in this particular area of the site, you can change that just like I made the changes to this here. So let's just say confirm. So again, now within the global styling, I changed my color palettes, I added some new fonts, and then I went to text styling, and I made changes to what I wanted each of those fonts to be attributed to. You can do this with your desktop and also with your mobile view. So this is where you're going to want to change your mobile view so that it fits your mobile screen a little better. Perhaps you are changing the sizing down a little bit. same things. You go through and make all of those changes. Okay, so going back here to global styling, the other part about global styling is your website layout. This can be a full width edge-to-edge site, or you can have a boxed site, which will, it's hard to see here. I'm going to just show you what that would look like. Discard. I'll show you what that looks like. Website layout. Oops. I'm going to go here to my desktop view. This will give you a better idea or view of what this would look like. So back to styling, website layout. Let's go from full width to boxed. And you see how it just pulls everything in. And now we have this kind of area along the sides of our site. So this kind of brings the entire website in. You can set your width up on top. The background on the sides will be selected here. And again, back to full width, just pulls it back out edge to edge. And then the last part of the global styling is the page styling. So here's where you can pick a background pattern or a background picture that would then be in the background of the page. This is great for patterns, and you can do repeating patterns or no repeat, covering the whole area. This is how you can set those kind of patterns that show up in the background of pages. And so that's kind of the global styling overall. But like I said, if you don't love that this one was heading number 3 or whatever this one was set to, you can individually make changes here. You can have, change the sizing, change the font, change the color. You can have the color be like highlighted by a different color. Let's see, orange. Let's just go make it crazy. And so you can see that you can make a whole bunch of different changes. And when you make changes on page, that now takes precedent over the global styling that you set for the entire site. So that's just a little overview. That is how you would make changes to your brand, make sure it looks exactly like you want it to look. And let's see, I'm going to go back to this one. Yep. And if there's any questions or you want to give it a try, just sign up for a 14-day free trial of Shine Pages and play with it yourself. Have some fun. If there's any questions, I will be happy to answer those in the comments below. Thanks so much. Have a great day.